everybody, and welcome to a very special Sogcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Matt.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm Owen.
We've also got a ton of special guests with us today. We're having a nice celebration of life for the Mariners season. Got all types of guests here. Everyone introduce yourselves.
I'm Hannah. I'm Allison.
I'm Nate.
I'm Quinten.
I'm Nathan.
All right, we are celebrating the Mariners season. We had a lot of positives, a lot of fun stuff happened throughout the year. It was a great season, and although it's over, we are here to celebrate the ending of the drought and all the amazing stuff that happened for the Mariners this 2022 season.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The Mariners were great this year. Did anyone expect at the beginning of this year that they would have ended up in the ALDS?
Nope.
I mean, every year I've always thought it's going to be the Mariners' year, even in like 2014 when they were absolute dog water. But no, I actually had really high hopes going into this season that the drought was going to end. I liked a lot of the preseason acquisitions. What? Oh, the fucking chainsaw.
Yeah.
Spooky.
I liked all the preseason acquisitions, and I thought that Dipoto put the right pieces in place for the Mariners to really make a run and end the drought.
It really did feel different this year. There was a different vibe around the team, and when Julio made the team, it felt good. It didn't click for a while, you know. It took some time for things to fall into place, but our starting rotation was healthy all year long. Like, no injuries to our starting rotation was a huge thing for the Mariners. The bullpen shut it down once again, really pulled their shit together. Munoz started off shaky and really pulled it together. I mean, after that fight, like, things really took off for them. Like, the chemistry of the team changed, and, like, they turned a corner.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, in June when they had that fight, they were, like, 10 games under 500, and they looked like shit.
Yeah, it was awful.
And then they got into that fight, and then they went on that 15-game winning streak into the All-Star break, which was awesome. And I think kind of the spark we needed at that midway point. And Jesse Winker just beating the shit out of the Angels dugout. Cherry on top.
The last good thing Jesse Winker's been known for.
True.
He coined the term electric factory, man.
That's true, too. That was dope. But that was also pre-fight.
What do you guys think Winker deserves to be in the team again? I mean, obviously he was way down this year from what he was in Cincinnati, but he has a track record of being a good player. I mean, every player has their down years, but what do you guys think about moving forward with him?
Yeah, it seems like now that their season's over, that he may have been struggling this year with injuries or something. I just hope if he's back next year, he plays a hell of a lot better. But, I mean, does he deserve to come back? I'm not 100% on it. Maybe.
Well, we signed him for another year, right? We did that back in, like, June, I think.
Yeah, so he
extended it.
would be on the roster minus, like, getting DFA'd or something, but he should be on the team.
I mean, we wouldn't DFA a guy like Jesse Winker. He has more value on the trade market. Someone would pick him up if he doesn't have the chemistry here. But I could tell all year that something was wrong. I just kept being like, yeah, he's making a lot of adjustments. I can tell he's making a lot of adjustments, and nothing's really sticking. And then his defense was just overall bad.
A lot came out when Ryan Divish went on, was it the Mike Salk show?
Yeah.
A lot came out then that it sounds like towards, like, maybe after the All-Star break that there was a lot of drama in the clubhouse with him, and he was, like, under-preparing, and Ryan Divish was stressing that the Mariners are one of the teams that tend to over-prepare. They have a lot of pregame rituals that they do, and he just wasn't really about it. And so he even, like, name-dropped, like, Haniger being a guy who was just really not vibing with Winker at the end, and they were also pretty mad that his, like, quote-unquote injury at the end made a lot of the guys have to play through, like, their injuries, too. So, you know, the Mariners have definitely stressed, like Scott Service has stressed, that if guys don't vibe with the clubhouse, like, he's okay getting rid of them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the Divish thing, like, Divish is around a lot, right? He's in the clubhouse a lot. I think he's on the same page with the front office because the front office responded to Divish's comments the next day with their whole press conference. I think it was the next day. And, did their whole PR thing about just exposing what they see, what's going on, what's happening with Winker, why he wasn't with the team, trying to, make it look better from a more professional standpoint rather than a personal clubhouse perspective. And it's interesting to hear that. I don't like Winker came from a loose, hot Reds team that really just like fell apart because their ownership didn't want to pay their guys. And like they had a whole different vibe going there than what we have in Seattle. I love Jesse Winker, and I think he can be what he used to be, but he just hasn't been this year. And I think he's kind of butthurt that he didn't really help the team like get there, and he wasn't there during the whole playoff push too. And it sucks, man. We could trade him, but we'll see what happens. It's a hole in left field.
I think along with Winker and Kyle Lewis, I think they clearly both have attitude issues, and it's stuff that has hurt them at the major league roster. And I'm okay with not seeing either one of them again. Like, yeah, they deserve another chance, and very well Winker could come back and be a better player. And Lewis, who the hell knows? He had flashes, but clearly there's attitude problems, and so I don't really care if they're not back, especially if they're not vibing with the team.
And you already know Jesse Winker, he's got the total vibes of the Mariners trade him. He's going to go somewhere, hit 30 bombs, drive in 100 runs, be an all-star. He's just like he just has that guy written all over him. Just another version of Brad Miller, Mikeson, the guys who leave and they just crush it wherever they go. But he's a proven player. He's been around. He's been doing his thing for a while. He just had a down year. I give him another shot, especially since he's under contract and that's a proven track record.
I want to give him another shot too, for sure.
Nah, get him out of here. He's so bad in left field. Like Kellenic, who we've kind of ridden on and put him in the doghouse a few times on the pod. Like Kellenic, he played left field like 14, 15 games. I'm like, wow, it's really nice having someone in left field who can be defensive and not like just boot routine ground balls or pop-ups.
Yeah, he can cut the ball off from getting into the corner. He has a good arm.
Yeah, and like for example, like Kellenic and Winker hit basically the same, not very well. So like
Disagree. Hard disagree.
on
No,
what point?
they both hit not well. Get out of here. Yeah, that's one of my issues with Winker is if all that is true. It sounds like even more so than an attitude thing, like Allison mentioned, it was work ethic and not willing to put in the work to prepare for a day-to-day game. He just kind of sounded like he showed up and just wanted to expect to be in the lineup. They said apparently he didn't put any work into improving defensively or gaining any strength or anything, which maybe his injury played a part in that. He had surgery on his knee, I guess, a couple days ago. So maybe he wasn't able to weightlift with that. But if you're that bad defensively and Kelnick's that much better than you defensively and you don't put in any work to get better on defense, I don't know how much we need that around.
Yeah, super ego problem. Like you think like if you're up on the ropes like that with the clubhouse and the fans, and you're like, okay, this person we're on the level with hitting, but Kellenic is also 22, 23. Winker's a little bit older, and Kellenic is so much better in the outfield. I would be like grinding, putting in the drills, the time, the prep, and it sounded like Winker didn't do any of that.
One big thing to note for both of those players next year offensively is there's not going to be a shift. I mean, both those guys got shifted on heavy, and so next year is basically I don't want to say it's a clean slate, but it's pretty close to it because it's just a whole new ballgame out there with the lack of shifting.
Also, it's going to be fun to see how the game changes next year. With now the banning of the shift, it's going to be interesting how teams are going to play it. I've seen like mock-ups of if teams still wanted to shift, like the infielders have to be on each side of the respective bags, but you could bring the left field all the way over and play like right center or something like that. So just leave left field completely open. It'll be interesting to see kind of how teams adjust, like both hitters and defensively.
Yeah, it's funny that we don't really shift outfields, but now that the infield's limited, it is more possible that like at least move in the right fielder short and shift the other two outfielders to like right and left center so that you have a shifted outfield. It's going to be interesting to see how they play those things. And if there's going to be defensive plays where they can move across the border at a certain point, like when the pitch crosses the plate, they can take off running into short right field. So they'll have like actual moving plays.
I mean, that's such classic baseball. Before the rules even put into place, you already figured out a way to bend it.
It's always going to happen.
Also, so let's talk about just some of our favorite moments from the season. We have a lot of exciting stuff that happened throughout the year, and a lot of stuff gets kind of lost in the shuffle because it's such a long season. So kind of just reminisce about stuff throughout the year. One of my favorite pickups, even though it wasn't like the best move ever, I love that Carlos Santana got added to the team. That is one of my favorite pickups. I mean, obviously Luis Castillo is huge and it's way more beneficial in the long run and stuff like that. But just Carlos Santana to come from Kansas City to be here and be very clutch for us. He was awesome, and that was one of my favorite things of the season.
Yeah, he didn't play very well for Kansas City, and then he came here and really showed up. He looks like he added a lot of positivity and camaraderie to the clubhouse as well. That was a great pickup.
He's a switch hitter that walks a lot. He makes great contact, like he barrels it up when he swings. He's a threat every time he's up at the plate. He had a lot of clutch homers this year. I loved having Santana around. I hope that we re-sign him, especially with the shift thing happening too. I saw Winker and Santana like rocket balls straight at dudes in the shift all day, like all year long. So I'm excited to see hopefully both of those guys back here now.
The banning of the shift is going to benefit Santana so much next season. I'd love to see him back. That would be fucking awesome.
I think I'd say my favorite part of the season was probably that home series against the Atlanta Braves. Just the fact, not only that they don't play them that often, obviously, but the fact that they're the defending champs. They came into Seattle. You split the first two games. Third game of the series, Mariners have a 5-run lead or 6-run lead, I can't remember what it was, but they blow it, and you're like, God damn Mariners. And then bottom of the ninth rolls in, and you're like, God damn Mariners, dude. Dude, it's just one of those moments. You're like, oh, you're like, Julio comes up, hits a dinger. Suarez up, hits a dinger. It's just, I don't know. It was just one of those moments you just realize, okay, the Mariners, they've arrived, they've made it, they're here to stay. They're fun to watch. I don't know. It was obviously later in the season. There's a lot of stuff happened before that, but just playing the Braves that well, and they're the defending champs. I don't know. It was a huge moment in my opinion.
The Mariners' magic, man.
That series also solidified to me that we could make a playoff push. When they made that comeback and just seeing how hyped the guys were, it felt like a playoff game. And I think that was the moment that I let go of my trust issues for the Mariners, and I was really confident at that point that we could make a good playoff run.
I agree. That was a big turning point for me, too. We really showed what we're capable of. We saw what we were capable of, but that really proved it. And that's when I just got the most optimistic. It felt different after beating the world champs like that, defending world champs.
One of my favorite overall things through this season was what Patrick brought up on, maybe it was last episode or the one before that, where they spend all kinds of money to bring good players to Seattle, and then it puts asses in seats, and just them realizing holy shit, if we put a good product out, the city will care. And seeing all the fans get so hyped on it this season has been awesome. That's one of my takeaways.
I think my favorite moment was watching Cal Raleigh kind of come up into his own and just be the catcher and the leader the Mariners needed. It sucked that it came because Murphy tore his ACL and was out for the season the first 2 weeks. But just watching Cal, who had struggled in his call-ups the last year or so, just come out and struggle a little bit and then make it through. And then he was hitting bombs, and he's a masterful catcher. He has this relationship with pitchers. I mean, he straight up caught up. When we were with the Astros in the last game of the series, he caught 18 straight.
18 full innings.
Which is
with his thumb is fucking torn off.
Yeah, it's torn. Bone chips, torn ligament.
He just straight up played through it. And I think he was Was he a Gold Glove finalist?
Yeah.
He is nominated for a Gold Glove.
Which is awesome. And he also led the American League in catcher home runs, which is just like he is like elite company right now. And
Yeah.
I'm really excited to watch him. I get like Dan Wilson vibes from him.
He beat out Mike Zunino for Mariner homers, right? Like
Yeah, he did.
He's banging, man, and he's only going to get better, in my opinion, from both sides of the plate.
Also, our team is so young. We had so many rookies that really showed up this year. I mean, you got Cal, you got Kirby, Penn Murphy, like a 30-year-old rookie coming out of the pen and doing a damn fine job. It's just this team is so young, and they're meshing so well. Like, just the fact that this team is going to be good for years to come is very comforting.
One of my favorite things about this season was actually just all of the above, what everyone's mentioned, but one specific moment in a game that stands out to me is against the Blue Jays back in, I think it was July. We were playing them here for a 4-game series. We ended up sweeping that series, but it was game 2. It was a Friday night, sold-out crowd. Half of them were stupid Canadian Blue Jay fans. And we were on Apple TV, tied 2-2 in the bottom of the 9th, and Gino hits a walk-off 3-run home run. Like, that moment for me, being at that game, sold-out crowd, you know, it's always kind of rowdy going back and forth with Blue Jays fans. You're kind of talking mess all game. And then to win that on a walk-off and just kind of shove it in their face and then get the next 2, that really felt like a key moment in our season, honestly.
Yeah, what sweeping the Blue Jays there was huge.
Yeah, I think another good thing to note about the Mariners this year is they finally have a roster full of players that you wanting to watch them every single day. I remember there was the days where, you know, you only want to watch the Mariners every 5th day when Felix pitches. But now every single day you want to watch them. They're just full of guys that you want to see what they do. You want to see how they perform. You want to see how they progress. I mean, my favorite player on the Mariners right now is Matt Brash. I mean, it's just kind of a weird favorite player, but just watching him pitch, man, he just throws the most disgusting pitches I've ever seen in my life. He's just basically throwing wiffle balls up there. It's just so gross. But I don't. Top to bottom, there's just full of dudes that you want to see. Obviously, you want to watch Julio. He's has the potential to be the face of not only the Mariners but of, you know, baseball itself. But either way, it's been a while since they've had a team like this where top to bottom, 1 through 25-man roster, that they're just stacked with players that you want to see how they do. You're invested. You're watching every game, and you're just happy to be a fan. Happy that you're a fan of this team.
I'm excited to see what we do with free agency in the off season. There's, you know, talk about shortstop or one of the shortstops moving to second base or JP moving to second base. And then with Adam Frazier too. So I'm like anxious and excited to see what we do. I really hope that we extend Mitch. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Jerry wants to do with that because, you know, I hope we get at least someone in that free agency.
If JP goes to second, you think he's pissed?
Well, he will not. They're not going to move him to second if he doesn't want to. The team is built around JP. I mean, they were he was one of the first extensions that they did. When they signed him to a 5-year, $72 million deal or something like that, which could be quite a bargain if he can get his bat to light back up like it was in the past. He still had a decently okay season. Actually, I'd say it was a plus season, but there was definitely some down marks, and you wish his bat would have been a little stronger overall. He's obviously not a power guy, but if you could get him to even just 10 home runs a year, I mean, he had 6 this year. I mean, 10 from him is okay, or it would be great for him. But JP won't move to second without choosing to.
One thing to note about JP, I mean, obviously, like you said, he's not the power guy, but man, that guy has the sweetest home run swing I think on the Mariners. It's very Griffey. Yes, just the way he obviously he's left-handed and just the way it looks. But he didn't hit a lot. What, he hit 6, 7 home runs, you said? Yeah. But when he gets it a hold of one, it's a nice sight to see.
He also started hitting a lot to opposite field later in the season too. He's working on his shit. He's getting it together. I think he's going to come back strong next season.
And he ended the year with a lot of good at-bats. a lot of work in the counts and stuff. He had a pretty strong suit with that. Also, if I'm not mistaken, he's not a strikeout guy. Like, he doesn't strike out a ton. He doesn't have like the high average, but he is at least putting the ball in play. And as we always say, put the ball in play, good things will happen.
He's a dude that definitely keeps his cool when he has 2 strikes. I've seen him go 0-2 to full count and walk so many times that it's pretty crazy. Like, when JP's up, he just keeps his cool. He'll foul off so many pitches with 2 strikes just to work it full. Take a walk. He's not a great base stealer, but he has speed on the bases. He had a pretty good defensive season, but not great. He had a kind of a mediocre offensive season, but like Garrett said, he's been hitting the ball the other way. He has skills. Like, he has so many skills that it's hard to be mad at how much we're paying him and how we build our team. I don't think JP would be mad moving to second base, to be honest. If we got a elite shortstop, I think it'd be great to see JP work with any one of those Xander, Trey Turner, or Dansby Swanson up the middle. It would be awesome to see either way playing second or short, either one of them.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Matt. I think a lot of the Mariners had a really good approach at the plate. I don't remember a lot of them striking out in 3 pitches.
Jared Koenig.
I was going to get to that. Yeah, I was going to say everybody had really good approaches to their at-bat, except for Kelenic. When he was down 0-2, 1-2, he would generally swing at the next pitch.
He's
right.
swinging.
He's swinging, and he looks dumb as hell up there when
really
it's like a
does.
curveball, and it like at the top, and then it breaks before the plate, and then he's just over the top of it. Like, he just
Swinging
gets scared
right through it, bro.
But I mean, even from like Raleigh and Santana and from Suarez, big guys, big power, you think that, when they're in a hole like that, they're just going to swing and miss and some junk. But they all put together, I mean, through the season and definitely through the last half of the season, they put together some really good, crucial at-bats. And it's really nice to see after watching, our big power guy Seager the last 10 years when he was 0-2 or Zunino 0-2, they're just swinging on the next pitch, putting everything they can, hoping it's a fastball. And it's not. It's a curveball and they strike out. But it's really good to see, like, just a good approach to being down in the count. And I think that was a key to our success in a lot of our games.
And also that whole going down 0-2 and then swinging that crap out of the zone is stuff you see a lot with inexperienced hitters. And you wish that Kelenic would figure it out already. I mean, he has at least a full season.
A full season, but like truncated.
Yeah.
It's like squashed together.
True. And, but hopefully as he gets older and stuff and in this off season, hopefully he still works hard and kind of works on a better plate approach.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season when he first came up, I remember watching his at-bats and being like, holy shit, he's learned patience. Hell yeah, go Kelenic. And then he shat the bed constantly. But he looked really good when he first came up. But patience is another thing that this team has really showed at the plate. Go ahead, Owen.
I really like Kelenic. You guys know it. I've been saying about him on the pod for like the last month, 2 months. I remember we had a conversation where we really couldn't recall a great left fielder in Mariners history. We had like all the wash-ups, like
I love me some Raul Ibanez, though.
What was the guy that Milton Bradley? That was his name. He showed up to like picture day with his hair all fucked up and had like some dried spit on his face, like he just woke up from a bender.
My favorite thing about Milton Bradley, and I told this story on the pod before, but it was the time that he struck out with the bases loaded in like the 6th inning, and he just got into his car and drove home. He just fucking left. And that's so funny to me. He was just all pissed, and he just literally hopped in his whip and went home.
He was probably like 37 years old, didn't give a shit. He's like, yeah, 1-year deal, sure. He's like, I'm done, dude. I'll go home. They can't fire me, right? They need me. But speaking of favorite things, I never really got around to one of my favorite moments of the year. But when we started the podcast, our first big question was like, who's going to hit the first Grand Slam? Because we started this halfway through the season, and we took guesses. I guessed Ty France. We guessed Dylan Moore, Suarez, and Julio. Patrick guessed it right. Hit the first Grand Slam of the season in his rookie year, his first Grand Slam of his career. And that was a real big moment. I think that was super awesome.
What was also awesome is the Mariners ended up hitting a couple Grand Slams this year. Santana had one. Jesse Winker had one against the Angels. And I remember in like 2014 and 2015, the Mariners went 2 full years without hitting a Grand Slam. And Kyle Seager finally broke it. I had a picture on my old phone. It was like Mariners' first Grand Slam in like 784 days. You're like, Jesus Christ.
Mariners thing.
I would say one of my favorite games and moments this year was the Yankees game where we went into 13 innings.
I was just about to bring that up too.
That game was incredible. Being there was so fun. Nate and I were there. Patrick was there, and we were on our feet from like the 9th inning until the 13th inning. And it also felt like a playoff atmosphere. That was right after the guy went, the Seattle Mariners. And so, like, that was really fun to chant. And so that was, like, really fun to chant. And Luis Torrens had his hero moment, and then he got DFA'd right after and then came back. So I was happy that he got to have his comeback right after. But, yeah, that was probably my favorite game to be at.
That was really fun, too, because we were all sitting together, and we had great seats. We were right down, like, the third baseline in the 100 level, and it was electric.
Side note, I love it when people just get famous for no reason and just milk the shit out of it like that Mariners guy. Oh, man, that's my favorite thing in the world.
He's been begging on Twitter for a first pitch.
Yeah, I saw him.
He wants to do a first pitch at like the playoff game.
He was at the playoff game. I saw him there at the bars beforehand, and I was like, damn, this guy is the best. I just love when people get famous for no reason and they just milk the shit out of it. It's just, I don't know, it's just funny to me, and I love it.
I also forgot to make this joke last podcast, but it was pretty fitting that the Mariners had Felix Hernandez throw out the first pitch, and then they celebrated him by not scoring a run for 18 innings. That was very Mariners of them.
Very on brand.
It was very on brand. Poor Felix. And quick side note, Felix looked really healthy and good, which was amazing to see because it's been known that his drinking was becoming a bit of an issue with his time at the Mariners, and when and he just wasn't putting the work in, and he was very overweight and just looked unhealthy. So it was really nice to see him healthy and happy. And even though the Mariners lost that game, it was so nice, like seeing Felix Hernandez. It was beautiful.
I forget how young he is.
Yeah, he's only like 34, 35 years old. He could still be in the league if his arm didn't fall off and if he took better care of himself.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Felix looks healthy and happy. You know, I know he was grinding, and it's been said he was having some sort of drinking problem. It's rumors and whatnot. You know, he could be a little bit jaded after that type of career, putting up those types of numbers, not getting any run support, being the king for so long, and yeah, I'm glad that it seems like he's happy and healthy.
Another moment I also wanted to talk about, going back to the Blue Jays series where we swept them right before the All-Star break. There was the Sunday game. It was the 4th game of the 4-game series. I ended up sitting with Owen and his mom that game, and the Blue Jays defense just absolutely fell apart. They had the drop pop-up in the infield that led to 2-run scoring, and then the freak play of the ball going through Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s glove was insane. And
that was the biggest break.
I know, and like that's one of those things, like literally, like the baseball gods were smiling on the Seattle Mariners. Just what a weird thing to have happen. The ball literally just went through the webbing of his glove.
I remember asking, like, why would a first baseman ever have like a T-web like that? You know what I mean? Like, it puts pressure on all those points. I've seen T-webs like that, but what first baseman should definitely have a net of some sort, a mesh to scoop that thing, and so it doesn't pop apart like so easily. I thought that was a big blunder and a huge break for the Mariners.
Also, it's bad for his glove sponsorship. That's a really bad look.
Yeah, well, I think it was Wilson
sorry.
A2000.
It was the second time that's happened too, so it's like a reoccurring issue for him.
Yep, time to get a new glove manufacturer.
Or just learn how to lace your glove properly, too. I don't think they teach that in Canada.
Another big positive of the season, how about the come-ups of Ham Swaggerty? Sam Haggerty had a hell of a year. It was nice he was getting regular playing time, and he earned every bit of it. The dude was amazing, and it's so unfortunate that he had that injury on, second to last game of the season, sliding in a second. It was really unfortunate that he couldn't be part of the playoff roster because he played a significant role in getting the Mariners to where they were at.
I loved watching him play this year. I said it earlier, but when you watch him play, he looks like he's coming for everybody's job. When he's in left field, you're like, man, he's really getting it done out there. He plays the infield too. It's like, dude, this guy.
Swaggerty or Dylan Moore?
Swaggerty.
Yeah. I mean, I like having both of them. I've said this before too. Having two utility guys is awesome.
It was Dylan Moore previously, but Swaggerty came for Demo's job, and now he's coming, like, he just keeps going. He has more momentum, and Dylan Moore's fallen into a more stagnant role. Unfortunately, he had an injury later in the season that didn't help him out. And then Haggerty did as well, which didn't help us out either. But Haggerty really showed he's valuable anywhere on the field and in the lineup.
Yeah, Dylan Moore didn't do himself any favors when last year when we were fighting for, I think we were against the A's, that last 4-game series at home. Angels. And he was in left field and just like straight up misplayed a pop-up. Like a routine, like maybe you had to run a little bit for it, but just misplayed it and dropped it or didn't get to it in time. And I'm like, yeah, we can DFA him. I'd be okay with that. Even if he hits 100 home runs next year, get him out of here.
Speaking of his defense, you see how there's a utility player category for a Gold Glove now this year?
That's awesome. I'm glad that they've implemented that. That's so cool.
I was kind of surprised Swaggerty wasn't on it. I was like, I don't know the criteria for it. Do you think he started too many games? He didn't come into enough games? Because it seems like his defensive metrics should have stacked up against anyone in that lineup. Like you had Whit Merrifield as one of the nominees. It's like I would probably take Swaggerty's defense over Merrifield.
Yeah, we have to look up what the criteria is. Like, how do they qualify for that category? Maybe he just missed it because he played there's by a 2-game margin. He didn't play enough different positions or enough positions or games at each position or whatever it is. It's hard to say. It seems like he should qualify for that. He is that guy.
Yeah, I feel like it would have to come down to a game started type of number because he did start a lot of games during the middle of the season when we were dealing with injuries and suspensions. So maybe he just actually qualified as a regular left fielder accidentally.
He had that great Spider-Man catch too. It wasn't ruled a catch, but
It was a catch in our hearts.
It was, and it was a great clip.
He got stuck on the netting there for a little bit.
Yeah, and
He
it
jumped into the netting.
him.
Yeah, and he used the momentum to just jump back out of it. It was awesome.
Yeah, he got rebounded back out. It was really cool.
Also for the future, I'm so excited to see how George Kirby career pans out. Baseball has records for kind of everything. There's awards for kind of everything at the end of the year. There's no reason why he should not win Rookie Pitcher of the Year. I mean, holy shit. He went 15 straight starts without giving up a home run, something like that. It might have even been longer than that. He went almost the entire season until the last month without walking more than one batter in a game. The dude came in the closing role against the Blue Jays. He's calm under pressure. He has amazing stuff. The future is so bright for George Kirby, and I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
I think calm under pressure is a huge understatement. That dude is ice cold.
Yeah, man. Like Patrick said, Kirby's going to be a stud for years to come. It's awesome that he's a Mariner. He's just one of those guys that you want to watch every single night. I've never seen really anybody who just pounds the strike zone like him. He'll throw you a strike, dare you to hit it. Even if you hit it, you're gonna ground out. It doesn't even matter. he's fun to watch. His stuff is pretty damn good. And I don't know, he's probably one of my favorite starting pitchers right now. If I can say that.
The guys like Justin Verlander used to pound the zone when he was young. He'd just throw hard and pound the zone. but like Kirby's got a little bit, like he has a little bit of a pitch mix here. Like things, this modern pitch mix is nice. It's not just all overpowering. He's got a good breaking ball to go with his fastball, and then like a cutter with movement or whatever. He's got a good pitch mix. He's able to move the ball around and throw hard, like max out if he needs to.
I like how he just randomly decided to learn a two-seamer too after Robbie picked up his two-seamer. Kirby's like, yeah, I can do that. I'll have 5 pitches now. Like, yeah, you can never really guess what he's going to throw.
Kirby gave that interview after he closed out, was it with Toronto?
It was Toronto.
And they were like, how do you feel as a starting pitcher going to close out a game like this? He's like, I just need like 10, 11 pitches and I'll be good to go. Like, ice cold, man.
And it also helps that he's early 20s, so he
doesn't give a shit.
I'm surprised he needs that many pitches to get warmed up, man.
Just put me out there cold. I'll figure it out on the mound.
Just give me an espresso shot. Put me on the mound. I'm good. Let's go. Dude, when he closed out the Blue Jays game, he looked like he might puke, but he was still so composed. Like I was at the same time as being ice cold. I was like, yeah, he's a little bit pale.
If you puked, you probably would have puked it in the strike zone too.
No doubt.
Fun stuff about this season. Hannah went to her very first ever Mariners game.
How was that, Hannah?
I did. It was very exciting.
Tell me more.
It's a good year to do it. What game did you go to? Who were you playing?
Help her out. Help.
Spot now. Bro, I don't even know who we were playing. I've gone to so many games. They all like blend together.
I don't know. I know it was cold and wet.
And
I went into the 12th inning.
You were in the Terrace Club though. That was nice.
Where were we? I thought we were on the bleachers.
Oh, you were in the bleachers for your first game? When we all went to that group game. Oh, that was your first. I was thinking the game when we ran into you guys in the Terrace Club sitting with Katie.
No. It was when we went all with everybody there. We were in the bleachers, and the game started like 7:05. We didn't get home till like midnight.
And I had to work at like 6 a.m. the next day, but it was so fun. It was great. And I went to Lexmore after that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you were there during the Blue Jays series.
Was I at this game?
Yeah,
you were at that game.
I was at
Like
that game.
You got like the crab cakes or whatever from like.
I don't eat crab.
We also lost. That was when Jared Kelnick came in and like pinch hit, and it was like a 2-run bomb, and then Paul Sewald lost the game for us.
Was that for someone's
Yeah, that was a depressing loss.
Oh, you got to go to more games, Hannah. Good luck charm.
I just got lucky when I got into it.
Patrick, your memory for remembering exactly what game you went to, who we were playing, where you were sitting is incredible. I can't believe you can remember every single one of them.
That and television quotes. Got them on lock.
Tell me a television quote right now.
Your face should remain metal-free like a good radio station.
That could be made up. I don't know.
That's from American Dad. Haley
There's so many good
Haley
quotes.
gets a piercing, and he's like, your face should remain metal-free like a good radio station. That or your mom's going to touch more sack than a medieval grain merchant on inventory day.
All right.
Anyways, speaking of remembering stuff,
I remember something.
I can remember stuff.
hard transition on that one, but Nate and I's first date was at a Mariners game, and he can tell you like the date it was, who we played, what the score was, and probably who the starting pitcher was. I'm gonna quiz you on it right now.
No. Tell me what she was wearing.
No, that's absolutely not. He does not remember that. I can tell you that.
That I don't know, but it was it was May 10th. It was a Tuesday game against the Oakland A's, and we lost 4-2. I do not remember who the starting pitcher was. This was 2019. We might have had like freaking Tyler Anderson or something. We had kind of a crapshoot of starting pitching that
Matt
year anyways.
LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Wade LeBlanc. Matt
Wade
LeBlanc
definitely
is Joey from Friends.
Yeah, that's how bad our pitching staff was that year.
Just replacing
Might
him
as
with
well have
television
been Matt LeBlanc.
Also, who was the guy that Marco Gonzalez threw into a locker? Was that LeBlanc? It was one of the... It was like a veteran dude. That was Mike Leake. Oh,
Mike Leake. Wasn't it? This was a while ago. Was this not like Gene Segura or someone?
No, it was Marco Gonzalez. Because it got spilled when the Mariners owner gave that Zoom call. and he just started spilling all of those fucking ridiculous
God, I
secrets.
forgot
When
about
he's
that.
like, yeah, we make our employees park like 4 miles away so we can.
That guy,
Yeah, what
And he said Julio doesn't speak any English. Like, what are you
Yeah,
talking about,
And
man?
then he was like beefing. Oh my, that was honestly, I'm surprised that wasn't bigger news. Probably because the Mariners were so dog shit when it happened. But the fact that he just went into a public Zoom call and just was like talking about service time manipulation and all this like insider stuff, and he was just openly spewing it.
I don't even think it was a Zoom call because it was like at the Bellevue Rotary Club breakfast, dude. Like it was like, did this guy just like get drunk last night and he's hungover at the Bellevue Rotary Club, just spilling all? He's like, I don't give a anymore. Like, I'm just laying it all out, letting everyone know that I'm a racist piece of shit. Like,
Dude, he was so unhinged. That was wild.
That was so crazy. Yeah, he talked about manipulating Kellenick's service time. He talked about Julio not speaking English, which is just
Not the case
inaccurate.
at all.
He beefed with having to pay was it Shigetoshi Asagawa's translator. He talked about how he scams his employees so he can upcharge parking. He talked about how they completely swooped Root Sports in a business deal and how they're overpaying him. It was just like, dude, what the hell are you doing?
this is forced retirement.
And he delivered all this news like he didn't even look bothered by it. He was just like, smiling quietly while like gathers his thoughts. He's like, oh yeah, and we did this, and like he's like laughing and joking. He didn't even look like it bothered him even a little bit.
What a scumbag.
That was also when he called Marco a boring lefty, that Marco is like really embraced now and like has trademarked it for himself.
Well, it's a good trademark because Marco's boring as shit.
Crafty? How about boring? Yeah, I thought it was so trashy of him to do that, but I honestly think he was just trying to retire. He's like, I don't care. Just get me out of here.
There's so much easier ways to do that.
And he's like, fire me so I can get that severance.
Yeah, that severance package comes in
Probably
hot.
fat from the MLB.
I think it went under the radar a bit too because it was during COVID when like the 2020 MLB season kind of feels like a fever dream. Like I don't remember anything that really happened in it, and so it happened during that time. So I feel like it just quietly went under the rug.
I remember
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
was-
7-inning games.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, that was the same. It was the off-season kind of spring training time going into 2020 when the Astros scandal also came out. So between that and then COVID happened, the season got delayed. That just kind of got brushed under the rug, it feels like.
Also, if you're a listener and want to know more about that, John Boy did an excellent breakdown on the whole Mariners speech, or like the guy's speech and him then getting let go and stuff. So if you're curious, type that into YouTube and you can learn even more about it. John Boy does an amazing breakdown of it. It's very funny, and it's just like, it's very face palmy too, of like just all the shit this guy was saying.
John Boy does a lot of cool stuff, like when Joe Kelly threw at the Astros right after they won the World Series. He breaks it down so great. He turns a lot of like almost mundane, overlooked things into these really cool narratives. So anything, other than that speech, I super recommend watching just a lot of his vids. He like really breaks it down and extrapolates really cool moments from it.
Also, fun breakdowns of the Mariners' brawls against the Angels, so that's a lot of fun too. Go check those videos out. They're awesome. So we've got the rest of the postseason coming up. Surprise, the Phillies coming hot out of nowhere. They barely scraped in as were they the third wild card? And they had potential to get bumped by Milwaukee, but Milwaukee had a pretty bad collapse at the end of the season. So Phillies managed by the skin of their teeth to get into the playoffs, and it just shows that playoff baseball, it's just who's hot right now, and the Phillies have been hot. Gene Segura, ex-Mariner, had a fabulous game 1 against the Padres as they're battling to go to the World Series. I would say the Phillies are my pick for the World Series. I would be most happy to see them win. I personally wish that the Yankees would beat the Astros and then lose in the World Series. I don't want the Astros anywhere near the World Series, but chances are up 3-0. statistics say they're going to make it. But I hope Phillies pull it out over the Padres, and I'd love to see Bryce Harper get a ring in Philly.
I would love to see the Yankees beat the Astros, but the Yankees have a lot of holes, man. The Astros are a really complete team. We know that firsthand. We've seen them so many times over the last decade that we know exactly what they are. The schedule changing next year with a more even schedule, we won't have to see them quite as much in the AL West, which is nice.
I just thought about this. Have the Astros lost a game in the postseason?
Nope.
God damn it.
I know, they're the
Astros,
worst.
man.
Yeah. The Astros, man, they're just damn good, dude. They've been damn good for a while. I'm sure they had their whole cheating scandal that happened, blah blah blah. I mean, I'm kind of over it. Hopefully, I don't know if most people are, but either way, they're damn good. It just pisses me off because every day, I mean, they just take turns. Who's the guy who's gonna do the damage against you? I mean, obviously Jordan had the 2 home runs against us, but it wasn't just Jordan. Before both those Jordan home runs, Jeremy Pena grinded out in that bat, and he got on base. And in that game 3, who is it that hits the home run on top of the 18th? Jeremy Pena, and he's a rookie. He's gonna be around for a while, and he's gonna be tormenting the Mariners for years to come, and it freaking sucks.
No, I need the Astros to lose because I'm riding that crutch of them cheating. So until they win another ring, I'm like, they're just cheaters. Like, that's why they're good, you know? Like, they're just cheaters. But as soon as they win a ring, if they win this year, it's like, now I have to admit, like, okay, they're pretty good. They have a really good team, core team. And I don't want to admit that. I love just talking, you know, when I'm on Twitter talking shit to people, they're like, oh, I'm a Houston fan, born and bred. I'm like, you're a cheater, you know? And now, if they win, I'm just like, oh, shit, I have to go delete all those messages I sent.
Yeah, dude, like, the cheating scandal is one thing. I'm more mad that they're so good already. They had such a good young core. I have no idea why they needed to cheat. Like, that team has so much talent that, like, I wanted to like how good they were, and they ruined it, man. They ruined their whole dynasty.
That legacy is tainted 100%.
What makes me mad about the Astros is that they are sweeping their way in the playoffs right now with Altuve, their starting hitter, going 0 for 24. He broke it up today, but I'm like, man, and I'm not mad about how it ended with the Mariners because we honestly played them better than the Yankees are now. So I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I still remember when the Astros got added to the division. I was like, yes, Astros are dog shit. Another team for us to roll over. And it's been the exact opposite of that.
I know. I mean, Houston Astros were like perennial 100-game losers. And they were called the Houston Lastros. And they came over and were like, oh, hell yeah. Time to smack this team around. No, we've been getting smacked by them for, 8 years now? Yep. But the tides are changing. Mariners are going to get better. Astros are still a really good team. There's no denying that. Also, it will be interesting, another rule change next year with the changing of the scheduling, where every team is going to play each other. So you're not just locked into, 30, 40 games against your division. So we'll be playing the Astros less, and it will be kind of nice to... One, it's going to be really exciting to see every team, no matter what. That's really cool. And then just the fact, less division games, you could see the Mariners really having a legitimate shot to chase the Astros next year.
Yeah, and the Astros core, they're getting a little older. I know Alvarez is pretty young, but, Bregman, Altuve, they've been around the block for a while.
Gurriel, too.
And Gurriel, yeah. And, they'll get older. Maybe Bregman will get in a car accident,
Come on, man.
I didn't say die in a house fire. That's pretty bad. But we have the younger core, and, our young guys are actually really good and capable. So I think it'll be, we might have another year or two of getting abused, but I think we're on the up and up for sure.
I think the new schedule, other than just being good for us not having to play the Astros as much, is also just good for baseball. It's going to give a lot more fans a lot more reasons to go out and see a lot new teams that they probably haven't seen, in like what we played the Braves this year for the first time in 4 or 5 years or something. So it's just another reason to go out to the ballpark. Like, every team out there really realistically has a star that like everyone's going to want to go and see play, even if the team's not that good or they don't like the team. Like, you go and you're like, oh, cool, I get to see so-and-so play tonight. Every team except probably the Oakland A's. and now we don't have to play them as much.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. And this year we actually got the Braves here for 3 games, and usually it's a 2-game series with the National League. And like the Braves were here for 3, which was really nice. Like that felt good. And we actually had a chance to like win a series instead of just split like it usually happens, you know. But going back to the Astros, yeah, like they do have an aging core because they have been around for 8 years, like Patrick's saying. They've been around. But they do have young guys, like Quinten's saying. They got Pena, they got Jordan.
Kyle Tucker.
They have Kyle Tucker, yeah. I was going to say that. Like, that dude's no joke.
2 ripper starting catchers. Come on, man.
Yeah, they picked up Christian Vazquez from the Red Sox. So they have him to, like, he's a good hitter. And he's a starting catcher that's been sitting on their bench because Jason Castro got hurt. So, but I want to make the point that, like, Owen said earlier in the podcast, when we picked up momentum later in the season, we were like 10 games under 500, right? And we made our huge 14-game push. We kept building, winning series, most series, and we kept pace with the Astros at that point. We didn't gain ground on them,
No.
but we were playing at the same pace they were till the end. So if we can pick up from the beginning of the season and keep pace with them from the beginning, like that feels like we have a chance if we have a complete team next year. Re-signing Santana, filling a second base shortstop hole, knowing what our corner outfield's going to look like.
Speaking of that, I mean, it's kind of moving on to next year. If you guys had to choose, what would one move that you want the Mariners to make in the offseason?
I like Dansby.
It's a good move.
Dansby, the shortstop for the Braves. Yeah, I'm not like overly concerned with like the free agent market. I mean, obviously, I feel like the only glaring hole is what we're going to do up the middle. So second base or shortstop, JP moving over. As far as I'm concerned, that's the biggest thing. And then I guess one more corner outfield spot. I would really like to see Kelenic, I guess, in left field. And I guess if maybe we re-sign Haniger or, I don't know, another outfielder from somewhere. But if we could re-sign Haniger and then you get Kelenic, Julio, Haniger.
Yeah, man. A corner outfielder with a big bat would be huge for us next year.
I think Kelenic hit more bombs than Winker.
I'd put Kelenic in right, fill left field. I try to DH Winker if we don't trade him. We have Haggerty still. Like we could get a corner outfielder, but I think Mitch Haniger's probably going to move on. Just feels like he's phasing out of the chemistry of this team, and like he's the old guard, but I think he's going to move on. I think we're going to stick Kelenic in right, give him a chance, and try to fill left field, supplemented with, because Winker can't play out there. Like, we need to do something about that. But just up the middle, we need to sign someone with a big bat. Xander Bogaerts is awesome. Dansby Swanson's awesome. Trey Turner's awesome. Those are the biggest names on the market up the middle. Outfield, I think we just need to let shake out with what we have and let Mitch Haniger go.
Gene Segura's a free agent at second base.
No, thank you.
I'm with you, Owen.
Also, another maybe Taylor Trammell can get some more action next year and really comes into his own. He's another one who's had his flashes, but it hasn't been consistent. But if he can grow with the game and start putting together some better at-bats and some more consistent hitting, I would love to have him as even a platoon guy, but like seeing more regular time. If he can prove it, I'd like to see how he grows.
Yeah, I think Trammell's like, a case study like for Kelenic. Like they're both like very young. They both suffered from the COVID short season, so they basically missed a whole year of development, right? And they both have kind of just gone up and down and up and down. And I can't, I obviously don't know. I can't speak for like what it does to your mentals to be like, okay, we're going to call you up, and then you find, mild success or a little bit of success, and then you get bumped down again when people are off the IL. I think, if we give Trammell and Kelenic both just a full year, I know that's asking a lot given how fast the game moves, a full year, they will both, come out on top. Because
All right, so I mean, just looking at the free agent market, obviously the Mariners would like to have a shortstop be able to move to second base, and that's Trey Turner, Bogarts, or Swanson, like you guys mentioned. But in reality, in my opinion, they're not going to sign any of those guys. They're all going to demand a $250+ million contract. Mariners just aren't going to pay that. But if I had to choose one guy that is somewhat realistic for the Mariners to sign, would to bring back Edwin Diaz, man, dude, that guy. He's a free agent. He was nasty this year, and just imagine having Munoz in the 8th and then throwing out Diaz in the 9th. And bullpens are one of those things where, because the Mariners bullpen this year, they were shut down, they were locked down, they were real good, but bullpen is not one of those things that just transfers over automatically to the next year, because there's just so many variables involved in that. You have all the different bullpen arms. They all had, I don't want to say career years, but really good years this year. And it's to expect them to all come back next year and duplicate that or even be better is just not realistic. So signing one of the best closers in the game, I think, would make a huge difference. Just imagine if we had him for this playoff run. I mean, he shuts down the 9th, like, no problem. He's Edwin Diaz, man. He's nasty. He's damn good. Play the trumpets. I'm all for it.
Is he a free agent next year?
I'm pretty sure he's a free agent right now. Yeah, right after the World Series ends, obviously.
I would love that because I love me some Seawald, and I really hate Diego Castillo. But Seawald played like shit in the postseason, and I
He
would love
collapsed under pressure.
100. He folded, bro, like a chair, like a wet paper bag. I would love to see Edwin Diaz. Get him a new warm up other than that damn trumpet, but.
If we could,
I love the trumpet.
Trumpet's great.
Yeah, but
Trumpet's
it's
great.
the Mets. We can't just bite off the Mets like that.
well,
The
the
Mariners
Mets,
had the trumpet thing here.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we just didn't obviously promote it as much as the Mets do because they're New York media and all that kind of stuff. They've had the exact same music here, I'm pretty damn sure.
that song is pretty popular around sports right now, but it is Edwin's song for sure. But I would love to have Edwin back. It's just tough because the Mets are willing to pay their players right now. Edwin played a huge part in their team this last couple years. The first year he was there was shaky, but he's become a huge role for them. I can't imagine that their rich owner is not going to re-sign Edwin Diaz. And if we get him back, awesome, because Munoz has been our Diaz. Like you're bringing up, having those dudes back to back is good luck for 3 innings if you want. I would love to have both of them. The only argument to that for me realistically is we're so right-handed heavy in the bullpen that we need someone nasty that's a lefty. We need a lefty guy who's actually dominant.
I think I'm most curious to see what we do with Marco next year, because he quickly went from our opening day starter to just falling more and more into the starting lineup to the point where, I do give him credit for pitching that last game for us where he used his arm and helped us out a bit for the playoffs, but, we didn't play him at all in the playoffs, so I'm curious to see what we do with him next year.
Bail on Marco.
100%.
I do want to sing his praises, though. At the last game of the season, he knew he had a special role to play, whereas to go as deep into the game as possible to save the Mariners bullpen for the playoff series, and he knew he was going to be left off the wild card roster. And to his credit, he went out there and he gave it his all. I think, career, if not a career high, a season high in pitches, and I believe through 7 full innings. And yeah, trust me, I have my own gripes with Marco as much as the next guy, but he still put the team first and still gave it his all on that last game of the season, and I have massive respect for him for that.
What a bulldog.
Boring
We just say
as-
it all the time. He did gut it out, realistically. He did bulldog it out and gave our guys a chance to rest, and that is respectable.
But when giving it your all is not good enough, what do? Just bail.
Well,
I'm so tired of that guy.
It's good enough in the perspective that we didn't need to win that game for anything huge. We just needed him to throw as many pitches as possible, and he did that.
He did.
I like Marco from if we're taking the skill and your competitive edge out of things. I like him. He filled that void when Felix left, and Felix left a huge black hole, right? How do you replace the king? And I can't even remember any of our starting rotations when Felix was number 1. And so he did what he had to do. It's like Kyle Seager. It's like, okay, you're on some shitty teams, and you're basically the face of this, or you're the star of this lineup. And Marco did his job and played and pitched, but now we just have something better. Like, I'm sorry, it's a business when you think about it, and it's like you've kind of, overrode your usefulness and your ability to draw people. So like you can go die in a minor league team, or you can leave a hero. And
honestly, there's so much stuff to be looking forward to next year, to be excited about what happens with Marco. But all in all, we had a great season. It was a lot of fun. It was nice to see the passion and the excitement back in Seattle. And it'll be nice to go forward and just see how the Mariners continue to improve and grow as a team. It's been a lot of fun for all of us. It's been a great year. Thanks for everyone for being a part of this.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody. This podcast has been so much fun this season. Of course, the core four with me and Matt, Patrick, and Owen. But also, thank you so much to Quinten for stopping by, coming through. This podcast is... I haven't seen you in years, but I saw you twice recently. That's awesome. Nate and Allison killing it. And thank you to Nathan, who doesn't like to talk on the mic, but he helps us with the producing and everything. And also thanks to Hannah for filming and putting our clips on Instagram. Go on, check out our Instagram.
Mariners Sogcast.
There's one video on there that has more plays than people who show up to see the Athletics. So that's pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, 500 is more than Fields to the
No, it was
Athletics.
like over 4,000 or something, which is awesome.
Oh my
That is
God,
awesome.
was it really?
Yeah.
You
So
didn't tell me that.
thank you for everyone for being a part of this, and go Mariners!